Welcome to the Good Success Podcast. We have an amazing show scheduled for you today, but before we get started, let's have a word from our sponsors. Radius Renovation Group is a full-service construction management solution for investors of single-family and small multifamily investors in 25 states. Whether you own one property or hundreds in different states, the goal is to be your one-stop shop for all your construction needs, to increase property values, and to give you a positive and profitable outcome. Using their 8-step process, Radius will walk the project, complete a line-by-line scope of work and estimate, schedule work with licensed and Radius certified contractors, manage the project and contractors, pay the contractors as work is completed, provide quality control throughout the project, and when the project is complete, do a final inspection. Clients are provided with login access to Radius's cloud-based project management platform to view work schedules and updated photos of each job. There is even the ability to directly message the project manager. Radius only works with real estate investors, so they speak your language and understand your needs, from project timing to investor-friendly pricing. If you're an investor who is done trying to manage contractors and rehabs on your own, it might be time to consider having Radius as your partner. To put their expertise to work for you today, visit the Radius website at www.radiusreno.com or call them right now at 417-730-9777. And now, back to the Good Success Podcast.
And we need to own that. I think the book Extreme Ownership is amazing. Even 10X, Grant Cardone's 10X is a great book because it talks about personal responsibility and to take ownership for everything. Whether or not you think it's your fault or not, take ownership. And once you do that, it's like a light bulb. The switch turns on and we can now solve the problem because it's our fault. If it's our fault, then I can solve the problem. Welcome back to the Good Success Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Culler, and got Tom Olson, president of Good Success, sitting right here next to me in his awesome Be a Conduit, Not a Bucket shirt. Represent, right?
Be the conduit.
Be a conduit.
Not a bucket.
You can do it.
You can do it.
Exactly. So today we have part 2. So if you're listening to this and you haven't listened to part 1 of the 30 questions that you should ask for good success, go back. Hit pause on this so that you can come back, but go listen to the first part, which was last week. So it was only 2 episodes ago. So go listen to it. So this is part 2 of that episode. So 30 questions to ask yourself for good success. And the first 15 questions were absolutely fantastic. These are all questions that I hope you guys, if you had a week, so if you listened to it when it first came out, you had a full week to write down these questions, the first 15 questions, and then answer them. So hopefully you took action on those. If you didn't, don't even listen to these next few questions. I think they need to answer those first 15 because it's just easier to do it that way. So go back, listen to the podcast. If you have already listened to it, make sure that you've already written down your questions and answered them. So we got another awesome 15 questions that these ones might be a little bit more deep, and I am very much looking forward to this. So you ready for this?
I'm ready, Josh.
You ready? All right. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, make sure you have subscribed to the Good Success Podcast. We're on all the podcast platforms. Just search Good Success. You'll find us there. If you're on Apple Podcasts and you haven't already, make sure you have left us a 5-star review. That'd be absolutely amazing. We would love to hear your feedback on this episode, on these podcasts in general. And then if going to podcast platforms is not kind of your thing, you're more of an app person, we have the official Good Success app on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. So just go to either of those app stores and you will find, just search Good Success. You'll find our big G logo there with the orange background. Download it. You can listen to all the podcast episodes on there without having to go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Stitcher or any other platforms. So super easy to do. That's all you got to do. Just go to the App Store, search Good Success. And then the Good Success Mastermind coming in hot. And it is in May 14th through 18th in sunny Miami, Florida. We're excited about it. It's going to be awesome. Tom, let's talk about it a little bit.
We are going on a boat ride.
On the boat ride. That's on Wednesday?
Nope,
Thursday.
Thursday.
The middle day? Thursday.
So Thursday, which is middle day,
That's right.
We have got, we're going to the boat ride on a nice, beautiful boat yacht. It's really cool. It's nicer than the boat we did last time. And we're going on for 2.5, 3 hours, something like that. So we are going to have a ton of fun there. I just got off the phone. I got a guy texting me actually right now that's going to be there at the mastermind. And a bunch of really new quality people are going to be there. And like I said, like I've been saying, I only really want the fewer betters there. So we only want the people that not only get it, not only work hard, not only are successful in business, but also are successful in life. And that's what good success is being successful in life and in business, and putting God first, and putting family second, then business. And that's kind of the people that we want to hang around. And I guess I just asked the question I ask is, are you struggling with something in your business or in your life that you want advice from, or you want advice about, but you want it from the right people? And that's what the Good Success Mastermind is all about, is getting the right people in the room, not just successful people. Because at the end of the day, like, you can go anywhere to go find successful people. There's successful people everywhere. And you can read a book to learn about successful people. But get around good success people. Get around people that really care about what God has to say about their life first. And to help you have the right kind of success and do the right thing, whether or not it's going to be profitable for you in financial terms or profitable in eternity terms. And I think there's two different things there when you talk about the kingdom of God versus our kingdom. And just super excited about the mastermind. If you're that type of person and you think that you are having a hard time finding people that you can talk to on that level, you're struggling with that, or you're struggling with something in your business that you want help with, this is the place to be. And I'd highly recommend come to the Good Success Mastermind May 14th through 18th. Go fill out the application at goodsuccess.com/mastermind, and I will call you myself personally, and we will talk and see if it's a good fit for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So one more time, goodsuccess.com/mastermind to learn more about it. Fill out the application there because we want to see if you're qualified to be in the group, if you're qualified to be in the culture, and vice versa. So you'll get on a phone call with Tom and go through that process, and then hopefully see you there in Miami. So
and don't feel bad if you're not qualified. Just fill out the application anyways. Honestly, yep. I would just do it anyways. It's good for me to get on the phone call with you, I think, and I think maybe even if nothing else, I can help you. Mm-hmm. I told 3 people last week that they weren't qualified, that they weren't a good fit for our mastermind, but they were a really good fit for the Community Go-Giver event. Yep. And really, so maybe you may not be a good fit for the mastermind, and maybe you're not there, maybe you're just not that. Maybe you're not there yet. Mm-hmm. A lot of these people I talk to, I said, this isn't the right time for you now, but maybe in a year from now, with the path that you're going now, if you continue the growth pattern and you continue those disciplines that we talked about in the last podcast from the top first 15, then I think that you'll get there. And what's funny is some of the same questions I asked in the first podcast, with the top 30 questions to ask yourself to have good success. I asked those people that I said, no, hey, are you in debt? Mm-hmm. And one of the guys was in $50,000 worth of debt. And he's only doing he's not quite on his own yet. He's doing 5 or 10 deals a year. He's on his way. He's almost there. But the Community Go-Giver would be a much better event for him to be part of. And I really am protective of the room.
Yeah. And speaking of which, the Community Go-Giver event, June 26, 27, 28, happening right here in our office. And in the first episode of this two-part episode, Tom talked about one of the first questions was asking, what is your purpose in life? And Tom talked about his purpose just a little bit in that first episode, and that is to flip the entire city of Gary, which is kind of the whole mantra for what we're doing with the Community Go-Giver event. So June 26, 27, 28, get your tickets now because we're selling out at 80 seats. Once we hit 80, can't take any more people, so you're not going to want to miss out on it. CommunityGoGiver.com is where you can learn more about it. Tom, give us the wrap on this.
So the Community Go-Giver event is for 4 different types of people, okay? So if you're one of these 4 different types of people, I think the Community Go-Giver would be perfect for you. If you are social conscious, if you are a person that really cares about the community and wants to use real estate to help your community, you'll be perfect for the Community Go-Giver event. If you want to have a network, wasn't the network we had here last year?
It was awesome.
It was amazing. Yeah. For a first-time meeting, we had an amazing network. Mr. Landlord will be here. Jim Ingersoll will be here. Somebody from Quest IRA will be here. Jeff Johnson will be here, who's just crushing it, fixing and flipping. Jared will be here. talking about our own turnkeys, our own property management team. Aaron Chapman, a lender, really one of the best lenders. If you're buying rental properties, I don't care where you're buying rental properties. He's a guy you want to.
Aaron's not new to these people.
But the community is amazing. The community that we'll have at the Community Go Giver event is really cool. If you are analytical and you want to look at the deals and you want to say, wow, how in the world are they getting almost a 2 times? In California, they talk about the 1% rule. How about a 2% rule? Do you think you think it'd be okay to buy a couple houses for $50,000 that you can rent for $100,000? I think that'd be a pretty good way to put in your portfolio. Yeah. Or if you're the type of person that you know what you want and you just want to come and buy it, that's the type of if you're an investor and you say, hey, I've got this much money allotted on the sidelines and I know I need to invest in some area, and you want to buy a good area like Chicago, and our office right here is, I think I looked it up, is 27 miles from downtown Chicago.
Yeah.
So we are super close to downtown Chicago. We are basically Chicagoland. But you know what you want. You want a good area and good house and with good property management, with good numbers, and you already got your box outline and you're ready to go, then this is for you as well. So if you're an investor looking to invest in properties, if you are a developer like us and you're trying to wholesale, or you're fix and flipping, or you're being a turnkey provider yourself and you want to see other people, this is a place for you. If you're just wanting to hang out and have fun, we're going to have a ton of fun. And if you're really interested in helping the community, this is for you.
Which, if you're listening to the podcast, I would just bet that you're probably one of those 4, right?
I would bet.
I would bet that. So if you're listening to this podcast, sign up for the Community Go Giver event, because you are probably one of those 4. So communitygogiver.com.
But if everybody signed up that's listening to the podcast, we wouldn't have enough seats.
So you better jump on it right away.
I would jump on it.
Yeah. So definitely do that. So communitygogiver.com is where you can pick your tickets up. But again, we're selling out at 80, so make sure you go grab those right away. So without further ado, Tom, let's jump into the second part. So again, if you haven't listened to part 1, go back and listen to part 1 of this. So 30 questions to ask yourself for good success. And again, I'm going to say it like I did on the first one. When you're going through these, if you're driving, if you're working out, listening to this podcast, we're in a place where you can't sit down and write, then kind of ask these questions to yourself in your head, but then later on when you get back to the office or get back home or whatever, take out a pen and paper and write these questions down. And Tom also will email you these. So if you email Tom, tolson@goodsuccess.com, he'll email you the questions so that you have them there and you can type them out if you need to. But answer these questions. It's not going to do you any good if you listen to this episode and don't do anything about it. So action is a big part of this podcast that we talk about a lot. Almost every person we get on the interview talks about that. So take action on it. So Tom, questions 16 through 30.
All right.
Hit them with us.
We're going to do it, dude. All right. So this first question is so important that I actually did a little bit of paper for you.
You drew.
I drew for you. So Josh, how many minutes are in an hour?
There are 60 minutes in an hour.
60 minutes an hour. How many hours are in a day?
24 hours.
So how many days are in a week?
7.
So how many hours are in a week?
168, I think,
168
right?
hours.
Okay, got it.
I wrote it down right here for you.
Okay, cool.
So there is 168 hours in a week. Okay, so before I ask you this question, I want you to think about some of the first 15 questions. We talked about your priorities, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you think your priorities are? So we talked a little about money on the first half. This second half, we're going to talk more about our time. Okay, so I believe your checkbook and your schedule will determine your destiny, or your checkbook, your schedule determine your priorities. I can look at anybody. If you're a mentor or if somebody's mentoring you, they can look at you and look at your checkbook, and they can look at your schedule, and they can tell you what your priorities are. You don't even have to tell them what their priorities are. Yeah. I can tell you what your priorities are by looking at your checkbook and by looking at your schedule. What do you spend your time doing? And that is really the question, number 16. What do you spend your time doing? It's funny. I got an interesting thing. Me and my wife, I talked a little bit a couple podcasts ago about me going to Washington, D.C. Me and my wife also just went on a marriage retreat. We do this on purpose. We go on a marriage retreat every single year, not because we're having a bad marriage, not because we're about ready to get divorced. which some people think about going to marriage retreats, but because when we first got married, I told my wife every week we're going to go on a date. So every week from the time we were married, 21 years, we have gone on a date. We've changed the times. We've changed the day. You know, when you first get married, Fridays is kind of easy. You don't have kids. You can kind of do whatever. But later on, we're like, we need more time. Like, we need to make sure this is better well spent. So Fridays, why don't we do Fridays? Because there's too many people. I don't want to wait in line to get a dinner. Like, it's stupid. Don't go on Fridays. Go on Tuesdays or Mondays. That's what we do now. We go on Mondays now. But we've done Thursdays, we've done Tuesdays, we've done Mondays, and we do Mondays now. But my question to you is, what do you spend your time doing? And I actually would encourage you to do something very similar to this. I'm not sure if you can read it.
So it's going to focus. Yeah, there you go.
So write down what it is that you actually spend your time on. But like I said, before you do this, create a list of your priorities. Remember that roles and responsibilities we talked about? What are your roles and responsibilities, and what are your priorities in those? Now, this is what's really going to tell you if you are taking action and if you are making what you say, what you think is your priority, is it really your priority or not? So same thing with your budget and with your money. You start looking at it, you say, this is the top priority of me, but then I find out, I'm only spending, you say God is number one in your life, but you don't even give him your 10%. You say your children are very important to you, but you're not spending your time or not spending your money in that direction. So what is important in your life? And so the question I ask is, where are you spending your time? What I would do is I would write down really 2/3 of our entire life is spent either sleeping or at work. So we really only have an average of 8 hours a day, maybe more on the weekends, to do what the other things that we say are important. So I would write down lines, and what I would do is I would tell yourself, okay, these are the important things. So you have to sleep, right? So sleep, work, whatever it is, go down the line. So maybe it's time with family, maybe it's fun, maybe it's reading, maybe it's praying, maybe it's ministry, maybe it's eating. You have to eat quite a bit. So some of the things you have to do, just like your roles and responsibilities, some of those are God-given responsibilities. If you're a husband, nobody else can be that husband. If you are a father, nobody else can fulfill that role. But it's the same thing in your time. You have to eat.
Yeah.
You have to sleep. So you have to put those things on the time. So everything that you spend your time doing, and then what I would do is I would write down what things you're doing now. So the things that you're doing now, and then I would write down what you want them to be. Like, I think by just putting down how much time you do sleep, how much time you do, maybe you work out or exercise, how much time you spend with family every week, how much time you spend having fun, how much time you spend reading. Maybe you spend a lot of time watching TV and you look at this and you're like, ooh, I spend 6 hours a week or 8 hours or 10 hours or 20, or what they say, the average American, I think, spends 22 hours.
It's crazy. I don't even want to know.
On TV. Well, what should that time goal be? So some of these you're going to make higher, and some of these you're probably going to make lower. But I believe that doing a time study on yourself is a very important discipline and a practice in itself. So where do you spend your time? All right. That's question number 16. The question here is kind of like your checkbook, right? You're giving yourself a checkup from the neck up about your time, not just about your money, but also about your time. So does your schedule coincide with what you say your priorities are? Okay, so number 17. So that was number 16. Number 17, all leaders are readers. Now, I don't believe that all readers are leaders, but I think all leaders are definitely readers. So my question for you is, what are the last 10 books you have read? And then, this is just a yes or no question, but if somebody like me were to talk to you and were to give you a list that they thought were specifically for you. So for instance, when I talk to a teenager and they say, hey, what book should I be reading? I almost always give a teenager The Richest Man in Babylon. Almost every single time. Yep. Because they need to learn those real basic truths about money and about business and about life. But I may not give that same one to somebody who's a more seasoned person. I may give them something totally different. As a man thinketh, or something that needs a little bit more specific to them. But if somebody else, so my first question is, what are your 10 favorite books? Because I think we all ought to have our top 10 favorite books. And number 2, if I were to give you a list of a specific 10 books that I think you should read for you, would you read them in the next 12 months? Because I think it's very important for us to read probably at least one book a month. Most of us should be reading at least one book a month. All right, that's number 17. It kind of has 2 parts. So number 18, my question is, when will you be financially free? I think this is something that I don't care if you're 12 or if you're 60 or if you're 29 or 45. We all ought to have a date and a time where we're striving to be financially free. I think this is so important. If you have not read my book, The Active Turnkey, The Best Way to Buy Rentals, honestly, send me an email. If you want, I'll just send you the book. It just, like, seriously, guys, it's like $10 or something on Amazon. So just either buy it on Amazon, let me know, if you want it. But it really does kind of give you that plan. And I spend probably spend a quarter of the whole book just trying to teach people how to have financial freedom. Because to me, that's way more important than buying a single rental or buying something from me. I don't care. I really want to help people have financial freedom. I think it's very important. So the question is, when will you be financially free? All right. And that could be like a whole podcast in itself.
It could be.
How to have financial freedom and what are the steps.
We have done a podcast
We should. We should have a podcast.
But we already have.
But we do. That's right.
It was like 20, 30 episodes ago.
Yeah, that was quite a bit ago. Okay, I forgot about that.
Ago.
Okay, so if you go back and listen to that podcast, and I think there are precise steps for you to have financial freedom, but I think everybody should have a date and a number in their head. And I think most people can achieve financial freedom in 5 to 7 years. If they have anything already lined up, if they're super young, and they honestly, sometimes the younger people, it's even easier because they have less debt, they've got less stuff to get out of, and less bad choices to actually overcome. Yeah. So anyways, when we be financially free, I don't care what that is, what that number is, figure out when you're going to be financially free, and then figure out what you're going to do with your life after that. I think that's a very big date in your life to have. Number 19, and this number 19 has a lot of different pieces in it. But I think this is something that we all should be working on. We all should be striving at. And we should be looking at ourselves, but we should also be looking at our employees and our wives and our husbands and our kids and everybody. But what are you really good at? So question number 19 is, what are you really good at? What is your core genius? Okay, so that's the question. If I just have to ask the question, what's your core genius? What are you really good at? That's the question. However, underneath that, I believe there's lots of different things to look at. So I'm going to give you guys some tools and some resources to kind of to think about when it comes to what are you really good at. Number 1, I believe everybody who's a Christian has been given a spiritual gift. And I think different people have different spiritual gifts, and it's okay. Just like we talked about in the last episode, an eye can't be a hand, a hand can't be an eye, and the same thing with spiritual gifts. God gives every one of us a spiritual gift, and there are 7 core spiritual gifts that you learn in Corinthians, and I'm going to go through those real quick.
I hope you've been enjoying this Good Success podcast, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Our next sponsor is Gary Harper at Sharper Business Solutions. Your business is a personal endeavor that you have poured your blood, sweat, and tears into. And they know that. Sharper Business Solutions is a full-service solution to help you scale your dream. Sharper Business Solution implements the Sharper process and other key systems, giving you the confidence that you need to have freedom and grow and scale your business. The Sharper team wants to come right alongside you and provide the resources needed for long-term growth and success. If you are looking to grow or scale your business, contact my friend and Good Success Mastermind member, Gary Harper, and his team to help you implement the Sharper process. You can schedule your free consultation today at sharperprocess.com. So go do it right now. Go to sharperprocess.com and schedule your free consultation with Gary and his team. Our next sponsor is Jerry Padilla from Prime Lending. Whether it's your first time buying a home or you're well adversed in the process, buying and refinancing a home can be an exciting and rewarding but sometimes challenging experience. At Prime Lending, we take the time to listen and work with you to find a home loan that fits your needs. If you're looking to refinance your loan, lower your interest rate, lower your monthly payments, shorten your term, or get cash for whatever reason you need, we have a solution for you. Prime Lending also has several options for renovation loans, so you can find what works best for you and your home project. Make sure you contact our good friend Jerry Padilla, who is a senior loan officer and originator with Prime Lending and has over 11 years in the mortgage industry. You can learn more about Jerry and what Prime Lending has to offer you by visiting goodsuccess.com/prime lending. Again, that's goodsuccess.com/prime lending. And now, back to our show.
So number one is a prophet. The prophet is somebody who normally isn't a prophet like they're going to tell the future. That's not what a prophet is. A prophet is somebody that normally is a person that's willing to stand up for what's right or what they believe is right, even though everybody else kind of just looks at them funny. They're the person that is normally the bad guy. Normally the person, sometimes your integrators are the prophets because they're the ones that are like willing to tell everybody, no, you're wrong. This is how we're going to do it. And we're not going to stop. We're not going to stray from it. And you need those people in your life. Can everybody be a prophet? Absolutely not. I'll tell you about 10% of people. So there's only 1 in 10 are prophets. So thank God all of us aren't prophets. I'm probably not. I am in a certain way more like within opportunities, but I'm not probably on the other side of it. But anyway, so I'm really good at seeing what people's opportunities made. They might not be able to see their opportunity, but I'm not necessarily good at saying, oh, well, this is always the right thing to do for you. You know, so this is what I believe is right always for you to do. Because I think everybody has a little different way to look at that. So that's number one. Number two is ministry or serving. And really, there's probably more people that have this gift of ministering, serving, than anything else. And even our pastor, like normally you would think a pastor would be a teacher or a giver, an encourager, or a ruling, you know, like, but our pastor says himself, I'm not those guys. Like I am more of a servant and I am more of a ministering person. Like I just want to go see people at the hospital. I just want to go, you know, serve people and help people. And that's okay if that's who you are. That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Like that's what the gift that God's given you is. You want to be that person that's ministering and that's serving other people. Number three, teaching. Teaching is somebody that's you're kind of good at writing. You're good at creating a lesson. You're good at an outline. You're good at being, and not necessarily even teaching it. Sometimes we think teachers are good at teaching. It's not always that case, but it could be the case. These are the people that are normally studying. People that are normally when somebody says something, you know, the prophet might be like, yeah, that's right. But when somebody says something, the teacher's like, oh, I want to go back and I want to look at that. You know, guy in our office, Jared, I would probably say is a teacher. You might not think he is. He may be some of these other things too, but he really goes back and he wants to look at, I want to make sure that that's right. The next one is giving. And I think this is something that I think God's given me is a way to, whatever I have, like almost anybody who knows me, I'm just willing to give it to somebody. If I have it and I can give it, it's easy for me. And I don't understand people that's not the case because I'm so much and it's a spiritual gift. That's not a gift that I can expect everybody to have, but a giver, somebody that's just really focused on giving of their time, their talents, or treasure. If you know Good Success, I'm all about work to have to give. You know, we even say that in our show. It's on his t-shirt, be a conduit, not a bucket. That's really what, you know, it's all about for me. Encouraging. So I got off the percentages. So ministry and serving is about 40%, and all the other ones are about 10% of the people have these gifts. So teaching is one, giving is one, encouraging. And I strive to be an encourager. I strive to try to encourage people, tell them I'm thinking about them, praying for them, tell people that you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Yes. Yep. So I think being an encouragement is very important as well. You know, you think about Paul and Barnabas in the Bible, you know, Barnabas was such an encouragement to everybody around him, and people loved to be around him. People loved to be around those encouraging people. I don't think I'm that way at all, but I really strive to be that type of person. And something about a spiritual gifts is we should strive for all, but we're going to thrive in one of these. So it doesn't mean that just because you're a prophet or just because you're teaching doesn't mean you shouldn't try to do the other ones. It means that you've been given this gift, but you should be striving to multiply those and do every single one of them. So encouraging is one, ruling or organizing. And this is kind of like, this is probably more than likely your business owners or more than likely the managers. You know, I think of Cheryl in our office. She's so good at this. She's so good at making checklists and so good at like giving out orders in a way where people feel like they're valued, and she's so good at it. But ruling and organizing is also a skill that God's given us. And then mercy. You know, some people in your life, you know, you're just like, you can come to them anytime. It's like mom always has mercy for you, right, Josh? It sounded like my mom. I can always go to my mom and expect that I'm going to get mercy. Mm-hmm. But think about that in everyday life. The people that you meet on a daily basis, there are some people that's just the gift that they've been given. And it doesn't mean that they're better or worse than anybody else. These are just, like I said, your hand has to have a purpose in your eyeball, in your body, your eyeballs, your hair, your face, your nose, your mouth. Everything has a purpose. And there's people that we were all given these gifts, so we all need to know what gifts we are, or know what gifts we've been given, and focus on those and develop those and get better at those. So those are spiritual gifts. So the second one I want to talk about is your disc profile. I want everybody on here to go and figure out what your disc profile is. Just go to, I think Tony Robbins has a free one. Just go to TonyRobbins.com and go free disc profile, TonyRobbins.com, and answer a bunch of questions, and you can figure out what that is for you. I also think, so this is a big one, because I think figuring out what you're really good at, figuring out what your core genius is, this is a really big deal. This isn't something that should be taken lightly. This is not something that you should just like fill out a form and you think it's done. No, this is a lifetime of trying to figure this out. And sometimes you change. So sometimes your disc profile, for instance, will change with people over time. So figure out what that is. If you really want another one, Colby's another really good one as well, but you have to pay for that one. All the ones I'm going to give you are free. So what is your disc profile? DISC. Figure out what that is. I think another fun one, and I really like 16 personalities. I really do. I think it's really cool. They even give you these 16 characters, and the commander and the what was Jared?
Jared was it was
something entertainer.
Entertainer.
The entertainer. So like I just think it's really cool. But I think you ought to figure out what you are out of the 16 personalities, and know what that means, and know who else you work with, know what your spouse is, know what your kids are for all these. So it's not just about you, but this is about anybody that you lead. You should know what they are. What is their spiritual gift? What is their disc profile? What is their 16 personalities? And then the other thing, and now this is going to be the hardest part out of this whole thing about your finding out what you're good at. So I would ask 3 people that you know the best, or 3 people that you think know you the best. And 3 people that you believe know what you're really good at, and ask them to take the disc profile on you. Ask them to actually fill out the disc profile as if they were you. And then ask them what they think that your spiritual gift are. Because a lot of times we don't know. A lot of times we can't see it. It's kind of like the story in the Bible where Jesus says, you look at the little tiny needle in my eye, but you've got a huge beam in your eye. It's so obvious to everybody else sometimes what you are good at, and it's not always as obvious to yourself of what you're good at. So sometimes I think it's a really good check as well, because sometimes what we think we're good at, what we think we're not that good at, and sometimes we're really good at things that we don't realize that we're really good at. So I think it's a really good thing to do is ask other people what they think you're really good at. Ask them what what they think your spiritual gift is. Ask them what they think your disc profile is, or your 16 personalities. I think it's a really good exercise to do. All right, so number 20. I always say, in order to be a good steward and to be a conduit, right? I even pull the conduit out, when I'm on stage sometimes, and I'll say, hey, be a conduit, not a bucket. There's 3 things that keep you from being a conduit. And number 1 is laziness. Okay, we talked about that a little bit, but it's like, what are the things you need to do in the first session of this? What are the disciplines you need to start? What do you stop being so lazy about? Number 2 is pride. And number 3 is fear. And I think fear is a liar. Fear is one of those things that it will cripple you. Fear does not come from God, though. And we need to understand where it comes from. But I think it's very important to actually analyze what you are afraid of. So write down what you are afraid of. It's really funny. I showed my girls the Stop It skit last night with the guy, and he's like, this is only gonna take 5 minutes, and he's like, I promise it won't take any more than 5 minutes. So he's a therapist, and the lady comes in, and he's like, it's only gonna cost $5, and I don't make change, and blah blah blah. It's kind of funny, and she's like, well, I'm afraid that I'm gonna get put in a box, and he's like, well, has anybody ever put you in a box? And she's like, well, no. And he's like, well, why are you afraid of that? Well, I don't know. I'm just afraid that somebody's gonna put me in a box. And he's like, well, stop it. Just stop it. He's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, you don't want to be stupid, do you? So he's like, just stop it. And she's like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, well, just stop it. You don't want to be afraid all the time and be so afraid that you're going to be put in a box, do you? And she's like, no. Well, then just stop it, he says. And that's really sometimes what we have to do with fear, because fear really isn't there. Fear is just something that we're afraid of. It's not necessarily reality. Right. But I think it's important. It's at least important enough to know what those things are that you are afraid of. Because if you don't focus on getting rid of those and pushing those fears out sometimes, I don't want you to focus on the fears. I just want you to know what they are, be aware of them, so you can stay on guard around them, so you can keep them down and push them out. All right, so what are you afraid of? Number 21. I also talked about pride. So we all have pride in our life. And if you'll admit it, and if you will be honest with yourself, you'll understand, you'll admit that you have pride in your life. So my question to you is, what areas of pride do you see creeping up in your life? So what areas do you see that you need to work on when it comes to pride? Sometimes it could be emotional. Sometimes it could be the way I treat people. So maybe it's I want certain kinds of food. Maybe it's I want to go on vacation. I want whatever it is that you want. It's normally pride. Pride, I think, is the first sin that ever was created in the Garden of Eden, because they were so worried about what they wanted and they weren't willing to do what they were told. Mm-hmm. So pride, what are what creeps up in your life? That's pride. We all have pride. Number 22, and this is a hard one, and this is one that I promise you everybody on this earth struggles with. But who do you need to forgive? There is somebody in your life that's probably wronged you, and I bet you most people get wronged every day by somebody. And I think the right way to handle being wronged is to let them have a way out. Find a way out for them, just like Jesus did for us on the cross. He said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That was letting us out. That was giving us a way out. And that's what forgiveness is. Love is, in order to love somebody, in order to do what you're supposed to do, and in order to have good success, I believe you have to forgive people and forgive wrongs and understand that they didn't necessarily, you might feel like they just wronged you, but they didn't really. There's no sin committed against people. Sin is committed against God. And we have to be very careful to be so prideful to think that people have wronged us when they really... sometimes they were just hurting, and we have to find a way out for those people. So my question for you is, whether or not you agree with what I just said or not, you can still agree with the fact that there's somebody in this earth, maybe it was a parent, maybe it was a spouse, maybe it was a child, maybe it was a brother or sister, maybe it was a friend, whatever it is, who on this earth do you need to forgive? I think that would be a question that, and some people, there's probably going to be a list of people that you probably need to forgive. We should be forgiving every single day the wrongs. That Father, forgive us, for they know not what they do. But Father, help me forgive those that trespass against me. Is one of those daily prayers that we should be thinking about. All right, so who do you need to forgive? What grudges are you holding on to? Very important. Number 23, what mistakes have you made that you need to forgive yourself for? And I know this is kind of getting into that little touchy-feely. I get it. I understand it. But I think sometimes it's very important. We went emotional, we went back analytical, and now we're back to the emotions. I understand it. But who in this earth do you need to forgive? And what mistakes have you done? Just own it. It's okay. We all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. I am not perfect by any means. Josh is definitely not perfect.
I'm not perfect.
If you want to know what Josh has done wrong, just ask me. If you want to know what I've done wrong, just ask Josh. Or ask my wife.
We'll vouch for each other.
Just ask my wife. I promise you.
You can ask my wife too.
She'll tell you. Tom is not perfect, and it's okay. Like we were created that way, but we decided that we knew best, and we wanted to fall in the Garden of Eden. And we need to own that. I think the book Extreme Ownership is amazing. Even 10X, Grant Cardone's 10X is a great book because it talks about personal responsibility and to take ownership for everything. Yeah. Whether or not you think it's your fault or not, take ownership. And once you do that, it's like a light bulb. It's like switch turns on, and we can now solve the problem because it's our fault. If it's our fault, then I can solve the problem. Yeah. So what do you need to forgive yourself for? I think that's something that you should write down and say, hey, I really need to take a serious look at this, and I need to forgive myself for X, whatever it is. It's going to be different for every single person out here probably. Mm-hmm. All right, so What mistakes have you made that you need to forgive yourself of? Number 23. Number 24, write a list. And I think this is so important. We do this at the Mastermind every day. Day 2, Mastermind, we are going to talk about being thankful. So make a list of 25 people or things. Just start writing them down for the things that you are thankful for. And then next to it, why are you thankful for these things? I think if you will do this, it will change your whole day. You can change your day right now, today, for the rest of the day. It will change your rest of your day. I promise you. If it doesn't, money back guarantee, right?
Money back guarantee.
Money back guarantee. If this doesn't change the rest of your day, email me and I will apologize.
If you in person,
I will send you a free book. If it doesn't,
Tom will forgive you.
I will forgive you. But I promise you, this will change your perspective and change your life if you will be thankful and be grateful. Being grateful means that you're so full of gratitude that it just comes out of you. It just exudes out of you. And a lot of us might be thankful. We might say thank you, but are we really grateful? And I think we're commanded to be grateful, which means we're so full, not of pride and not so full of what we want or the things that we lust, but the things that we're thankful for, and that we're commanded to be thankful and be grateful. So make a list of I think the practical application of this is a list of 25 things that you're thankful for and why you're thankful for those things, whether they're things or people or whatever. And a little extra credit here is to tell that person. If 20 out of the 25 things or people that you're thankful for are people, your mom, your dad, your spouse, a coworker, an entrepreneur that you know, somebody who's encouraged you at some point in your life, tell them. That's extra credit for this. So extra credit is to tell those people why you're thankful, that you're thankful for them and why you're thankful for them. All right. Number 25. This is something I think everybody should be developing. And I think everybody ought to have this inner circle that whatever they want to, and that's kind of like what the Mastermind is kind of all about in a certain degree. You know, I was talking to one of our Mastermind members who me and him are working on some projects together, and he's like, Tom, like I really appreciate you. I've kind of had you in he calls it his top 6. He's like, I have a top 6, and you've been in my top 6 for like the last 4 years, and like I whenever I have a really big decision, I always bounce it off you, and I always think that I need to have these people in my life, and I think everybody should have those people in your life. So whether it's a top 5 or top 6 or top 7 or whatever that is for you, I would say just start with at least 5. So who are your top 5 people in your life that and if you haven't developed this yet, you should. So for me, like I want to make sure all my bases are covered. So I need to make sure I have an accountant, and I need to make sure I have an attorney. I need my pastors in my top 5. I have 2 or 3 members in my own mastermind that are in my top 5. I have other masterminds I'm a part of people that I would say are in that, and I probably have like more like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. And it's a flowing list. Sometimes people come and go out of that list, and it's okay. But I think you ought to know who those people are. Who are those people that will help you know tax, help you know the Bible, help you know, give you knowledge, life experience. You shouldn't just have the younger people. If you're 25 years old and 22 years old and all your friends, your top 5 are 20-year-old, look what happened to the king, Jeroboam. I mean, it's not a good idea. You know, it's really not. If the only people you hang out with are the people that have the same education and the same thought process of you, like you're not doing something right. You've got to get out there and find people from different backgrounds, from different skill sets, different spiritual gifts, different life gifts, different backgrounds, different social backgrounds, different ways of looking at things. But have those counselors in marriage. You know, like find somebody that has a really good marriage and be like, hey, whenever I have a marriage problem, I'm going to call that person because I think they have a good marriage. Whether or not it's perfect or not, nobody's perfect, but they're somebody I trust. Somebody that needs to be encouraged. You know, like if you need encouragement, who do you go to? You know, have that list of those people that will teach you, people that will serve you, people that, you know, like I think about this in construction even. You know, like I have my top guy, my top HVAC guy, my top flooring guy. You should have this when you're doing rehabs, but you should also have this in life too. So who's your top 5? Make sure that these people are people that will glorify God and help you push you back to the things that you think are going to be good for your life or things that God's purpose is for your life. People that love, you know, think about that. Like people that really know how to express love, people that can write, marketing people, all those people. You need to have those top people in your life that you go to, that you're willing to, you know, put yourself under their guidance per se and learn from them. So who are your top 5? I know I spent some time on that, but I think it's very important. So that'd be the most trusted circle of influence. So who are the most influential people in your life? 1 to 5. So the next step after you figured out these top 5, what I would like to see you do is at least do one of these people. So find one of these people that are the most influential people in your life and write a story about them. Right? So I'm sorry, I'm kind of putting these two together and I shouldn't be. So write your top 5 most influential people that you have in your inner circle that you can go to at any time. And the next question is, which people in your life have been the most influential? So for me, like I can tell you, my mother-in-law was very influential, and she died a couple years ago. I can tell you, Randy Erickson was a very influential person in my life, and he really didn't even really know me. And I kind of wrote a whole big old long story about how he was so influential about me. And I recommend, and I promise you, if you'll do this, it'll help you know about you. It'll help you know why you are the way you are. One of the things Randy Erickson taught me was how to be the most valuable player on the team. And I never thought I was the most valuable player on the team. I started in freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year in basketball in high school. And he used to come up to me and he used to tell me, you're the most valuable player on the team, and this is why. Because you're willing to do what nobody else is willing to do. And he's like, it doesn't matter that you don't score the most points. It doesn't matter that you don't have the most steals. It doesn't matter that you don't have the most rebounds, which I was always in the top 3 in all three of those categories. But I also had them in the top 3 of assists, top 3 in picks, top 3 in hustle, and in all those categories. But I was willing to do what no one else was willing to do. Everybody's willing to take the shot. You know, when you got the basketball, everybody wants to score the points. But most people aren't willing to set the picks. Most people aren't willing to get guys open. Most people aren't willing to box out and check off and rebound and hustle and get the balls when everybody else is kind of standing there waiting for somebody to just do it. And I learned a lot about myself and why I am the way I am is because he encouraged that in me. He encouraged me to be really who I am, and it was okay to be who I was. I didn't have the most scores. I mean, I think I only won all tournament team one time, and I was in tons and tons of tournaments, and our team was we always won like every tournament that we played in. I think we lost 2 tournaments. And it was funny because like if I scored 30 points in a game, we lost. That wasn't good for me to score. If I scored 30 points, I would probably always score 10 to 20, 25, whatever. But if I was the top scorer on the team, that means like our top scorer fouled out, or I wasn't doing my job, or somebody else wasn't doing their job. And I think and that was okay. But I had to learn a lot about myself, and I think it'll help you learn a lot about yourself as well. If you'll write down who are those top influential people in your life, they've influenced you, and why they've influenced you, and then write a story about all the reasons and kind of how they've influenced you. I think it'd be a very cool thing to do. The rest of these are easy, so these are gonna be quick.
These are easy ones.
So the next ones are easy. What is your favorite book? If you don't have a favorite book, I highly recommend you getting a favorite book. So what is your favorite book? Mine for years and years and years was The Go-Giver. People know me, they'll know. The Go-Giver, Tom's favorite book. Now it is The Richest Man That Ever Lived. And I kind of pushed Go-Giver down to number 2 or 3. Favorite book is The Richest Man That Ever Lived. Number 28. What are you really good? Sorry. This is back to business. So we're now in business. What is going really good in your business? I think it's really good to know what that is. If you read the book 80-20 Marketing, you learn that really like you get all of your bang for your buck out of the top 20% of what's really working in your business. So focus on that. But I think it's important to write down. And if you're not doing this, you probably should do this every quarter. What is working really good?
Could that be like a SWOT analysis?
Absolutely. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. But I think this is something, what's working really good in your business? And then to counter that, question number 29 is what is not working in your business? I think those 2 questions, you should always be asking yourself, what's working, what's not working? What are the opportunities? What are the threats? What do I need to get better? How do I get better every single day? And then this last one, I think, is a very important one. Every time we go to a mastermind, every time I go to a meeting or a conference, I always hear about your network, right? Your network is your net worth. I hear it over and over and over and over again. And I made this question last on purpose because I felt like if you got all these other things right and you self-analyzed, you'd be able to pinpoint pretty quickly where your weaknesses are. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. So maybe you go back to last week's episode and you hear, oh, I need a budget. I need to figure out What's holding me back from my purpose? I need to figure out, I need to put somebody in my life that's going to help me maybe figure out my purpose, maybe reach my purpose, maybe help me, hold me accountable. Maybe I need a coach who's going to actually hold my feet to the fire and make sure that I show up to work out every day. Whatever it is, like so this last question is, who do you need in your life? What relationship do you need in your life right now to make the biggest impact? So maybe it's a pastor, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's somebody you need to put in your top 5. Maybe it's a person to help you with your time management. Maybe it's a personal assistant because you're not spending the time that you need to spend in the places that you think are more purposeful. Maybe it's Dave Ramsey. Maybe you need to add that to your repertoire. Maybe you need to figure out how to get into a way to get out of debt. But whoever that is, it's going to be different for every person. I understand, but what person, if you could create a relationship with that person, would make the most impact in your life, in your business, and help you fulfill your purpose? And I think that's the last question I've got. So that's question number 30. What relationship do you need to make the biggest impact on your life or business? So since we're done with all of them, let's just review them all. Is that okay?
Yeah,
okay. So we're going to go real quick, and I'm not sure how long this podcast has lasted, but I think we'll be good here. So question number 1. On the 30 days to good success, if you wanted to do these once a day, you could. Or if you wanted to just do 30 questions to ask yourself to have good success. Why were you placed on this earth? What is your purpose? Number 1. I think it's the most important thing that you will ever realize in your life is, what is your purpose in life? What is holding you back from fulfilling that purpose? Number 2. Number 3. What is holding you back from your purpose? Number 2. Why is that holding you back? Is number 3. Number 4. Are you in debt? If so, how much? Number 5, what does your budget tell you that you need to make each month in order to survive? Like, what are your needs? What are your basic needs? How much money does your budget say you need to make per month? Number 6, very important. Do you give at least 10% of your income to God? I think if you're not doing that, I would start it today. So it's a discipline I did when I was 12 years old, and I can promise you God's blessed. And I promise you that's the way. If you haven't listened to episode number 1, I'd go back and listen to it just to hear this. That's how you get 10,000% return. No, sorry, 1,000%. 1,000, not 10,000. 1,000% return on your money. All right. What other ways are you giving of your time, talents, or treasure to God or to others? Number 8, what is it that you think you need help with? Number 9, what is your biggest challenge or opportunity? Those are a little different. Could be the same, a little different. Number 10, what are your roles and responsibility? All of them. So your family, your ministry, your work, your friends, all your roles, all your responsibilities that you carry in this world. Number 11, what are your priorities in these roles? If you didn't listen to number 1, I'd tell you to go back, but prioritize them 1 to 50. If you got 50 roles, I want a priority. Which one's more important? All the way down the list. Number 12, what are your big goals in life? Number 13, why are these your big goals? Number 14, what is your potential and your purpose this year? How much of that purpose can you chew off this year? Number 15, what habit do you need to start today? There's lots of habits that we all should be starting and should be doing, and what habit do you need to start today? Number 16, where do you spend your time? I started this today with this sheet here. Where do you spend your time, and figure out how much time you're spending now and what you want your goal to be in your time blocks of life. It's very important to know where you spend your time. I believe that I can tell you what your priorities are based on your schedule and based on your checkbook. All right, number 17, all leaders are readers. So what are the last 10 books that you read? And if I could give you 10 books that I would recommend for you to read in the next 12 months, would you read them? Number 18, when will you be financially free? Number 19, what are you really good at? What is your core genius? And this is your skills and talents. This is your spiritual gifts. This is your DISC profile. Or this is your 16 personalities. What are you really good at? And then ask 3 people what they think your spiritual gifts are, what they think your skills or talents are, what they think your DISC profile is if they took it for you. Ask 3 people to help you with that. Number 20, what are you afraid of? What do you fear? Number 21, we all have pride in all of our areas of life, in different areas of life for each person of us. But what is it in your life? Where do you see pride creeping up in your life that you need to constantly be pushing down? Number 22, right? Who do you need to forgive? What grudges do you need to let go of? Number 23, what mistakes have you made that you need to forgive yourself for? And number 25, write a list of 25 people or things that you're thankful for. And for extra credit, tell them that you're thankful for them and tell them why. Number 5, who are your top 5? Who are the people in your life that you can go to and ask questions to for guidance in all the different areas of life that you need guidance in? And we all need guidance. Number 26, who were the most influential people in your life? Write a story and then kind of express why they were influential in your life and how they influenced you. Number 27, what is your favorite book? Number 28, what is going really well in your business or maybe your life? Number 29, what is not working in your business or life? Maybe you need to change it. And number 30, finally, what relationship do you need to make today that will make the biggest impact on your life or your business? And for many people that I know, it is a mastermind. And I really believe in the Good Success Mastermind. And I think if you're out there and you're thinking to yourself, man, I really wish I could get myself in with some influential people that I really trust and believe that I would want to put in my top 5, I would highly recommend the Good Success Mastermind for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you. That is the 30 things to ask yourself for good success. Some fantastic questions, very thought-provoking questions. But at the end of the day, guys, if you listen to this entire podcast, if you listen to the entire episode 1 of this part 1 of this podcast, and you don't do anything about it, then you just wasted like 2 hours of your time. So do something about it. Actually write these questions down, answer these questions, because it's going to do you a lot of good. It's going to get you thinking a lot and really understanding yourself, what you need to work on, and just some really great questions. So I know Tom put a lot of time into these questions and really thought about them really through and through. And so this might even be a workbook in the future. So be on the lookout for it. But Tom, thank you for sharing that today. Much appreciated. I know these are questions I need to be asking myself, and then hopefully you guys got value out of it. If you did, email Tom and let him know. Olson@goodsuccess.com. Ask him for these questions because he'll email you back and get you all the entire list of the questions so that you can have them for you to type out or whatever, and for you to answer them. So shoot him an email. So let him know that you appreciate it. And that's going to do it for today's episode. But before you guys go, if you haven't already, make sure you have subscribed to the Good Success Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts at, or just go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store for Android and download the Good Success app. It's 10 times easier. So just search Good Success. You'll find it there. Download the app. And then the Good Success Mastermind coming up in May, back in Miami, Florida. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a full week, and so it's going to be fantastic. 14 through 18, May 14 through 18. goodsuccess.com/mastermind to learn more about it, and then fill out the application there. And then you'll get on a phone call with Tom and talk about if you are a good fit for the mastermind, if the mastermind's a good fit for you, and vice versa. And so just a little bit of culture findings to see if you fit our core values and whatnot. Be absolutely amazing. So goodsuccess.com/mastermind. Then the Community Go Giver event, communitygogiver.com to learn more about it and to pick up your tickets. Tom talked about it a little bit at the beginning of this episode. So if you want to learn more, go to the website. June 26, 27, 28 is when those are happening, and it's happening right here in the office in Gary, Indiana. So you'll be able to see the studio if you want to. But it's going to be happening right here. Tom talking about his vision for flipping the entire city of Gary. Question number 1 is, what is your purpose in life? And Tom has already found his, which is flipping the city of Gary. And so he's bringing you guys on board, and a lot of awesome speakers that are going to be there. So if you're not following us on our social platforms, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of that in the podcast, of course, make sure you are, because all these announcements are going to be coming out very soon. So be on the lookout for it. So that's going to do it for today's episode. We appreciate you jumping on and joining us today. Remember to be a conduit, not a bucket.
Work to have to give.
Catch you guys on the next one.